Good day. This is PsychicUnderLord from PsychicUnderLord.shop. Here coming to you with another video. And we waited a while just to get all the sensation and all the grief and all of the uh, questions that people have had out the last few weeks. And we want to discuss today the spirit world responding to the death of Charlie Kirk. And I'd like for you to just kind of relax. We're going to do a nice video here discussing this matter on the esoteric realm, higher plane. So if you're looking for information that's going to kind of maybe clarify some things for you, give you some ideas. As the foremost spellcaster of the world, I want to explain how in the world could Charlie Kirk die? How is it possible? There are a few things at play. We have very strong political ideology. We have very strong religious ideology, social, sociopolitical, socioeconomic. All of these associations mapped out and fashioned into a complex web, an overlay composite in an ascending world that is ascending higher in the hearts and minds of millions and billions of people, while at the same time simultaneously descending into the darkest chaos that you could possibly imagine. When people are heralded and coronated and elevated in the world, there are many different reasons why. We can consider the feelings, the emotion, the logic, the aspects that are at play in society. What is the good use for a person? One thing about it is that in this world, in this dimension we're living in, this, let's say this earth realm that you and I are sharing, and you on the other side of the video are sharing, there are certain people that are welcomed and ushered into a door, and there are certain people that are ushered out of a door. My biggest job as a spellcaster is to open the doors that usher in the transformation, the objectives of my clients. As you see, there is plenty of room for opportunity, and many of people have recognized that there's not just one door any longer. And it's not the type of thing where if there were 2 or 3 doors, that people would be banging on the other 2 either. People are single-handedly taking responsibility for their ascension, the ascension process. At this point, it's so late in the eve that anyone, 2025, September, who's at a baseline level of blindness or inability to conceptualize a spiritual thing, or who has been trained to ignore the inner, those people are as good as dead. There's no way they can make it. Because as you see, even the earth systems are pivoting and transforming themselves to suit those who have a keen understanding of what we're going to discuss in this video. There are many of you. There may not be networks and venues for you en masse to connect and recognize how many of you that there really are. But there's no way to support the weight of what has been put upon humanity for all this time. The collapse is slow motion. It is a surreal crash. How could Charlie Kirk die? He was a religious, and for people who believe, or believers in the Bible, believers in Christianity, what I've noticed is that on one side, they've propped up people who serve as the scouts and the battalion leaders, those who go out on the battlefield and serve as the figureheads of the fight, figureheads of the war. And if you go back into many of my videos, what is the value of a war when there are infinite directions? It serves a social purpose to have someone that I can make the face. Industries work with the face. They work with the persona. They work with those who are able to convey the information the way that they want it to be conveyed. And those people are ushered into those doors. That doesn't mean there's not death inside of that door. Just because it continuously, it actually serves as a very tragic decoy that people would be seeking to follow into these doors at the slightest whim and not question what be behind it. That's what we're seeing now. Those who are streaming into those doors continuously without question, because they said the system is set up that input is going to equal output. So if I just continuously follow until the wheels fall off, the wheels may never fall off. But the question is not if, the question is when. That's one side. Those who we've elevated socially, those who we have coronated, and those who we have given the free pass to destroy the world, to destroy society, to be the ones that we watch, that we are drawn to, that we can identify with, those that we create our identities built around the structural fundamental values of what these people represent. And then the other side, those people who are unseen, but in their mind, those chosen ones, they know that they have been transformed. They no longer have the same perspectives. They no longer have the same expectations. Those things are gone. And even if it comes across as a negative to say that people have given up on something, that the concept is that they want you to continue to fight. They want you to continue to pursue down the rabbit hole that they've already determined is a dead end. But they want you to go down the rabbit hole because you're one of the last ones who hasn't done it yet. You haven't had the magnificent Crashout yet. You haven't had enough too little of tragedy for you to be ignorant enough to jump on the bandwagon and say that rabbit hole may be for me. You've gone through a whole lot. You've suffered way more than they did. How is that possible? You were the good one. You were the good one, sitting on the sidelines, being completely ignored, displaced, doubted, treated very badly on the sidelines. And those other ones were lauded and applauded for their wickedness and darkness, and they have been elevated and coordinated when all you wanted was society to validate you. When you get out of the game of validation, you become dangerous to the system. Because I'm no longer seeking your examination. I'm no longer seeking your testing. Yet the testing of he who has bought me, that I shall do. How could Charlie Kirk die when he was chosen? And on the surface of it, people, the first thing they say is that, oh, he believed in God. Every religion in the world calls their deity God. What is that about? That is one of the most tragic things about it. God is not a door. He's not a door handle. If a Hindu or a Zoroastrian or any cult, any Christian, any Jew, any uh, Catholic, whatever you believe in, all these different religions that are supposed to be so different, if you can't come together under one roof because you're so different, why do you all call your deity God? So does that mean you're all worshiping the same thing? Probably. Whoa, you can't say that on the internet. When you really think about it, how is it any different? How are you any different? And so you're saying that you're killing a Palestinian in the name of God or Jehovah, whatever you're calling him, and all these different names people have made up for all these quote unquote gods. You kill in that name, kill in the name of that name. Yet he also, who you kill, calls his by the same name. So you've been chosen by your deity to murder. So to stand before, I've heard some very, very strange and curious things. And we all have said strange and curious things, right? Before we've been purged out, of course. If you haven't been purged out, you don't know what I'm talking about. But you can still keep listening. When you don't know what to say, because whatever you say is what you feel, that's not being purged out. The flow and the allowance of where you are spiritually and where those words lead, you have to live and die with that. Our words in this realm are critical. This is why there's money in an industry of people to play with instruments and recite words. Music is a spiritual business. So people wondered on your website, oh, you have a lot of stuff for singers and musicians. Well, as a professional singer, a professional operatic singer myself, and recording artist, I understand what it means to make music and to make sound. And studying deeper and deeper, you recognize why they would pay someone $1 million to get in front of you and curse you to death and curse you out and give you every creative idea of how to kill someone, every creative idea of how to cheat, lie, steal, deceive, and manipulate. And people receive that and they wonder why they become a sadomasochist overnight, why they begin to seek pain and suffering, and they become actually addicted to pain. So they become so addicted to pain, they also become addicted to drugs and alcohol. So they're standing by all of these economic centers. How is it that you can have streets filled with people doing drugs? And there's no such thing as stop now. Everything stops for this. Everything stops. Because this is the machine in motion, the destruction of lives. Our words, the words of others. When you're not purged out, everything you receive, you can think all you want about ignoring someone, but they can say one curse to you and kill you. They can take your life. Life is so dangerous before PsychicUnderLord.shop. And I'll tell you why. Because your sense of right and wrong is based upon what somebody wrote. what someone said, what someone does in front of you, and that's all I know. I'm a product of my environment. I'm a product of the church. I'm a product of television. I'm a product of the media. You are a walking, talking billboard of everything that has ever been said to you. And people have set up, there are many millions and billions of people who've never even heard of Charlie Kirk. Or if they did hear of him, it was because of some kind of advertising he paid for. He's paying for advertising to put these Turning Point USA all over the internet. And then even then, people, many people didn't necessarily take an interest. They just continued to live and move along. That's just another advertisement. But we received the message from him. Some of the people received the message and it took root as a seed in them. So they began to see him as they would a deity, as a prophet, someone bringing wisdom, someone bringing words of rational thinking, words that made sense to them. And they lived and died. They said, this is what I believe, and I'm going to stand on an island. But that doesn't mean they didn't believe in a whole bunch of other stuff, too. So Charlie Kirk believed 100% in himself, in his body, and he is the most powerful piece of the puzzle in the whole Charlie Kirk death thing, because it's him who died. And all the stuff that was in him died with him. But that doesn't discount that you have a million other people that you follow, that you listen to. We've never had a more dangerous time because of mass marketing, mass expressions of anger, mass expressions of terror, of chaos and calamity, mass expressions of deception, propaganda. There's no fact checking when people put money on the table to buy a system that will spit out information in front of you, whether you like it or not, whether you receive it or not. That's why the vast majority of the money that they pay for advertising goes right down the toilet. But it's so valuable to get those few people who actually do believe in the message that they'll sell 80 to 90%, 100, almost 100% of the advertising. It will go to completely to waste just for those few. And then those few, as they say, scale and scale higher and higher, like Charlie Kirk did. When I think about Charlie Kirk, I think about Beam Me Up Scotty, the old Star Trek television show. Captain Kirk was the one who was the captain of the ship Enterprise. I had no idea that this guy with a microphone at some kind of divisive debate, debating people about in these clips that you see of him debating children, essentially people in college, under parental supervision, all these young people, and trying to reach them, quote unquote, and quote unquote teach them his ways, teach them how he thinks, how he processes, how he sees the world. All of that stuff was in Charlie Kirk. That's stuff that he believed in. Whether they believed it or not, his motive was to force it out there in front of people live, and then to convey it and to pay to send it to you, where 95% of you completely ignored the message, not realizing how profound this guy's influence had really become. Especially if you're not in the circles that he's in, you're not in, there are a lot of circles I don't know about. I don't know who's the hottest thing in all these different industries unless I research and find out based upon numbers, based upon influence and exposures. What does it matter if somebody takes a picture and just shows it to a billion people? That's called power. That's called power. To sell 1 million records, how many pictures do they have to show to people in order to sell 1 million? There is a number. So at this point, they don't care what they sell you, because we know if we have X amount of exposures, worst case scenario, we have a range of what this is actually going to do for us. So all these advertising that is so astronomical beyond belief that people would be paying $10,000 and $20,000 a day to advertise, like Charlie Kirk, they're getting something out of this. Donations, subscriptions, paid classes where he's teaching people about what he believes, selling people on what they already believe, and then selling them even more to believe more and more. This wasn't for free. All that was in Charlie Kirk. All those exposures, come with me, because we're going through this tunnel. All that was in him. All the eyeballs, all of that stuff on him. And what was his protection? He said it was Christianity, I guess. He didn't really talk about, I didn't really, it's impossible to absorb how much talking he did, because he did so much talking, and it's all just random, tangential, theoretical thoughts about society and what he wants things to be and what he believes things to be. It's not like a targeted thing. I mean, I guess there's somewhere out there's some kind of categorizing service organization where they're like cutting the clips up so that you can get all of the anti-abortion, all of the, uh, you know, black people stuff, all the different stuff to prove that he's right. Just kind of just curate this thing that's not 100%, but just basically what this guy believes. But if it's organized and curated, it's a great tool of propaganda, and it's a wonderful, splendid tool for credibility in his own right. Those people thought he was credible. All that's in him. So whether or not it was a lie, whether or not it was true, there is a governance over this world. There really is. You can't take a person and monetize and scale them all the way up like this and then think this person has impunity. Take a look at people who've tried to seize power. They've tried to seize political power, economic power, technical power, and watch at the same time how it's a balancing act. They're literally juggling in the air. They juggle, and because they're juggling something, they have the task of keeping it up there. And if they can't keep it up there, it begins to fall. It begins to fade. The luster that they once had in their own power, in the oil of their power, there was no potency, because the illusion was being disintegrated so fast that they literally, what did you notice that he did? This guy, who you could not get out of your face for about a good 2 years, all of a sudden went dark. Went dark, why? Because the ruse was disintegrating. So I have to go into the darkness and try to recoil like a snake or serpent to gain power, gain potency, and to be able to figure out how I can continue to wield this sham of a crusade, of a belief system, of a tangential belief system that's built on nothing but however I feel, and I want to force that on everybody else to believe it. Those days are done. Those days are done. When you're losing millions of dollars a day, when the faith in your product is at an all-time low, when it's completely been disassembled and reassembled and it comes up that it's nothing but a ruse. That's profound, because how do you get $1 billion doing that for very long? You can take spiritually, with spiritual access, just like how they scale up to guarantee that they'll end up selling $1 million. You had to put X amount of dollars on the line. That is a high amount for people who don't believe. For people who do believe, many of them give their lives because they believe so much in the temporary opportunity to receive something that they would literally kill themselves and put themselves in a position to be killed, rather than to recognize that I need more governance over my life. I need more structure of things that I can actually count on instead of what I can feel. They're going on total ego, total feeling. And people say, well, if it's not ego, then what is logic? Well, logic is right and wrong. But logic is so primitive that to obey it would make you look crazy. And once you get beyond looking crazy and breaking protocols and breaking the law and breaking the structures that hold everything together and all of the different things that people don't like, you end up doing it because your logic says you have to. You'd end up just like a sparrow in a tree. That's what you would look like. You wouldn't be able to coalesce. So, what about the words of Charlie Kirk made him die? Are the words? Well, the words, the behaviors, the energies, all of the things, the associations, the things you keep in your midst, the things that you agree to. Imagine how many hidden contracts that Charlie Kirk accepted in his being, in his full power. That's what you see upon the video. You see a person who is sold on their power and their ability to the point that the only thing that they have to do is say another word. And all of a sudden it comes all the way to the end. And how foreboding that his last words before the bullet hit him, tragically and even disgustingly, those last words were that gun violence is one of the, this is one of his last words. Gun violence is a necessary evil so that we can protect gun rights. So if we lose some people who get shot, it's good because then we'll be able to keep our guns. So it proves what kind of danger we're in. So fear, feeding fear, rage, baiting rage, trouble, baiting and endorsing troublesomeness, all on national television, while simultaneously being lauded as the voice of reason and the voice of genteel reason. If you have ever seen something very genteel uh, and very innocent, very untouched and pure, uh, as chastened as the driven snow, untouched. This is what has been cast before us simultaneously while rage baiting 100%, 100% subdued rage. Uh, what came out, I don't even believe that I can say what came out in the spirit realm at this time. This will, of course, there'll be a further examination. This whole thing is far from over. It'll continue to roast and to boil and simmer. And that's where they like things to be, because you're able to get more traction out of it. More questions are going to come up, more contradictions, more drama in the whole scene, the cacophony of the chorus of those seeking someone to blame. They have the person who shot him in custody, but it doesn't seem to be good enough because there's not enough rage from it. Isn't that just like a balloon that you pop, and then when you pop it, there's no space, there's no balloon. It just popped and disintegrated. It's not like the balloon is popped and now we're looking for the knife. Where's the knife that popped this balloon? No, you're looking for the balloon and the balloon is gone. And so is the knife. And all that's left is ennui because I can't possibly turn around and believe this because I'm supposed to believe that. I've been conditioned to believe. Instead of saying, this is what I believe, this person has created an architecture of why lies are facts. Why? Instead of on the emotional, I'm an imperfect man. I'm an imperfect man. This is what I believe. And do you believe it too? It had to be turned into a Charlie Kirk for dummies type of thing, where the information became essentially a god, essentially a manual and a dial off of the cuff as I transit, as I move around, as I go and buy a house, as I go to work, take care of my family, whatever. I'm also receiving bits and pieces of this rage bait that is just showing me why American women are not suitable, what you should be as a woman. Uh, very very deep remarks on why you should be who you are, and then they go at this all over the place. Then you say, well, how do you target any other way? Well, that's the question from the number one spellcaster in the world. How in the world do you find people who actually believe that they need spiritual protection outside of the fact that you all are calling the same deities God? And you think that's going to protect you. But all this stuff happens to you. You want to believe. It's frightening as hell. But if you don't have the full story, just like with Charlie Kirk, you don't have the full answer. You don't. You don't. Churches are full of people burying other people. It is a community. The protection that you're seeking is not automatic. You're not just receiving. You haven't gone through any process. I had to go through this entire process to be completely transformed inside and out. I can't even sit here and show you my face. I don't think I'm a bad looking person. But the fact that I know you, there's no value of it for me to show you my face. All of the value is in this video. When will the time come? Will that be able to assist? You know, I go through this type of thing where they say that spiritual products, spiritual things are not, or kind of like illegitimate. How do you monetize services when they don't exist, right? We have a whole entire tax system structured on people going to these buildings and praying to a deity that they call God, all of them. And we don't know that God is in control of all of this stuff and all of you shooting and killing each other. God is making it so that all of you are stabbing each other and raping each other. God is in control of what is God doing all this for if you're not even saved? If you're not even protected at this point of your life and you have doubts, what did God ever do for you? I'm not going to say the Bible is wrong. I'm not going to say that there is no God. I'm not going to say I'm an atheist at all. I'm going to say that once you go through the process You're going to have to be tested in every way possible. This gift has been given to me. I knew I had it all this time. I just didn't know what it was for. I thought it was for me. I thought it was for me only. And then it became something I'm marketing to people. This is hard. How in the world am I supposed to do this? This is not how I'm reasonable. All the different opportunities, and this is the one that I have to um, explain and I have to be able to market and share. People know when the rituals go on them, when you elect that they go on you, you know exactly what you're feeling. You know exactly what's going on in your head, and you know it's not you. This thing is real. But guess what? All the people who don't know that they need spiritual protection, they may never know, and I may never be able to make even $1 from them. Poor me, right? $1. I couldn't be smarter in business. You know damn well it's not me.